Guys, Mormon reality television has been popping up lately. Okay, we have the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, we have Sold on Salt Lake City, and The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And they're all competing for who can follow the least amount of Mormon rules whilst still calling themselves Mormon church goers. So last year we spoke about The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives Season 1, which I'll leave a link somewhere in the screen here and also in the description box below if you haven't seen it already. But a quick recap, if you will. The show is basically about a group of Mormon moms who have decided to venture into TikTok social media fields to become famous and popular and have some fun, and show the audiences that even a Mormon mom with Mormon responsibilities can become a social media influencer. And of course it became super popular because it's about a bunch of white religious moms who are religious while still having fun. They're proving to you guys that you can still be a trad wife, a conservative, traditional, husband-obeying wife whilst still having fun and money and brand deals, because being conservative is now in vogue, I guess. And then there was a swinging scandal where they were sleeping with each other's husbands, and that became a national scandal. Everyone was talking about it, and it only got them more attention because eventually it turned into a reality TV show, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And it's very, like, scandalous, satanic. These ladies are doing ungodly things. The intro song is like a ripoff of Sam Smith's Unholy. It's a whole thing. Come ye saints and come ye sinners. It's a show where everyone was raised Mormon, yet no one actually practices Mormonism. A show that follows a group of ladies trying to modernize the Mormon church whilst actively not doing any Mormon church activities whatsoever. A show that intends to subvert negative stereotypes of the Mormon church and yet ends up reinforcing all of them. A show where all the Mormon moms talk about empowering each other, lifting women up, and then spending the entire time bashing each other. And this season is definitely the season of mental warfare on women, specifically Jen and Taylor. They are going through it. And I don't know, I thought after seeing the response to season 1, some cast members would realize that they are pieces of shit, but instead they all decided to ignore the memo and be themselves instead, and somehow it got worse. Jesse is married to this guy, Jordan, who looks like Jeremy Boring, the founder of the Daily Wire.
International Women's Day is upon us again, and I love an international woman.
Jesus Christ.
Demi is married to Brett, her groomer / her father's childhood best friend. Whitney is still married to a gay man. You'll remember that she was pregnant in season 1, and now in season 2, she eventually gives birth and says that it's such a miracle that she can enjoy this baby, this new life with her husband. And I agree, it's a miracle that he gave you that baby. Poor gay man, living a lie, forcing himself to be with a woman. I want to commend her partner. I can't remember his name. All I know is it's that guy with a gay mustache. Layla still hasn't had an orgasm, and in fact, she has no idea what arouses her. They have to throw a sex party for her to figure out what she's into, and the conclusion is she's into rough sex. But I honestly think she may just be asexual, but no one seems to mention that term once, so, you know, maybe they don't know it exists. Taylor is in a dysfunctional relationship with a serial cheater that her family absolutely fucking worships. Jen Affleck is still with the biggest man-child of the show, Zach, the visual prototype of misogyny. Macy is still there. She's thriving. She has her baby mama brand. She got a book deal. She's living the dream. And Michaela, who couldn't even crack top 10 in a group of 9 ladies, suddenly has a voice. She is standing up for herself. She reveals that she makes more money out of one brand deal than her husband was making the entire year. So now her husband is a stay-at-home dad. Remember her husband, the one she met when she was a minor? Yeah. And the show is basically like watching teenagers play house. Like they'll be at a park having a chat and like, who the is looking after the kids? Is it the producers? And there's always someone who's pregnant. Last year it was Taylor. Then it was Whitney. This year, it's still Whitney from last year, and then it's Jen. I guess you can't be a mom talker unless you keep pushing out babies. And it's a bloodbath this year. They all turn against each other. Like I said, they all praise themselves on wanting to lift other women up and supporting each other. You know, feminism 101. Let's revolutionize the Mormon church and show people that we're not just submissive servants to our husbands. We also have a voice and free will. and will use it to bash each other. Yeah. The general theme of the season is mean girls. So much so that they dress as mean girls characters for a Halloween party. One of them goes as a bus, but he only wears a t-shirt that has a bus on it. And I gotta throw it back to remember when I told you guys about my friend who's gay, who does really ridiculous Halloween costumes. One time he went as Tangled headphones. Well, I reached out to him, and it turns out that's not the worst that he's dressed. One time he went as a Skype interview. I'll put a picture here if he manages to find one, but he basically had a mirror next to him, and he had like an empty screen where his face would fit, and then people who were talking to him would see themselves in the mirror. And honestly, you can't you can't argue with the creativity. You know, it beats wearing a fucking t-shirt with a bus. But the mean girl behavior is like high school drama. Like, they're invited to a baby shower and they don't want to go because they haven't really made up with last year's villain yet, Whitney. So instead they throw an alternative dinner for whoever has refused to go to the baby shower, and then they spend the entirety of that dinner talking about the baby shower that they decided not to go to. So it's like, you want to be petty, but you're really just wasting your time talking about them anyway. So what's the point? To be mean. To be mean and childish and immature. Viva the Mormons. So grab yourself a drink, perhaps a snack, and I'm going to walk you through the biggest drama of the first half of the season. I will do a part 2 if this video gets to, let's say, 2,000 likes. Okay, there's your challenge. If you want to see part 2 of what happens in the season, this video has to have at least 2,000 likes or more views than the last video. So 40K. That's the baseline. Cool. Now that we're settled, let's get into The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, Season 2. Hi, by the way, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Eric, if you didn't know, and if you did know, hi, welcome back. So, there are two main focuses of this season. One of them is Taylor, the main character, the originator of MomTok, and Jen Affleck. Remember, she says that she's cousins with Ben Affleck, but turns out that's a lie and a big plot point of this season. She may have an issue with telling the truth, is what I mean. But first up, Taylor. As you'll remember from last season, Taylor had a child with Dakota. Dakota is her dysfunctional serial cheater of a boyfriend who keeps cheating on her and telling her that he didn't. Last season, Taylor was trying to find out whether Dakota had cheated on her or not when they had a short separation, and it brings back the conversation of Friends, you know, when Ross said, "We were on a break," and Rachel said, "No, we weren't," and in this case, they were on a break, but he also lied about it. So she has a conversation with this woman, and it turns out Dakota was sleeping with Taylor whilst also cuddling and sleeping with this other woman. They never had sex, and they make it a point in this series that whenever there's talk about like physical involvement, they always clarify whether they've had sexual intercourse or not, because I guess it's such a big deal in the Mormon church to have premarital sex. You know, it's a big sin. They're all doing it, but they're all lying that they're not doing it just to maintain themselves as like good Mormons. And I think that's lying to God. I don't like people that follow a religion and then just come up with ways and shortcuts to override the rules and practices they're supposed to follow to be part of that religion because we're trying to modernize. No, don't modernize religions. Do them as they were meant to be done so people can realize that religion is a cancer. So Taylor finds out that Dakota was hooking up with both of them at the same time, and that sends her down a spiral because now they have a newborn and her family is very much in touch with Dakota. I think her mom was his real estate agent. So it all brings me to this one gathering that Taylor's family throws. This is Taylor's family. Her mom, her stepdad, her brother, her sister, and a bunch of other family members. They invite Dakota because Dakota is the father of the child, who's called Ever. And at this point, Taylor and Dakota are not together. They're just co-parenting. So then the meal turns into Taylor's family turning against Taylor for not giving Dakota a fair shot. Now, let's recap just to be clear, right? Taylor and Dakota were dating. She got pregnant. He cheated on her. She broke up with him. They were apart for a few months. During those months, they kept seeing each other because she was pregnant, and he was trying to win her back. And while he was doing that, he was also hooking up with other people. Then they got back together and Taylor asked him, "Did you hook up with anyone while we were separated?" And he said, "No, absolutely not. It's a lie." Until it was eventually revealed that no, in fact, he did cheat on her, or he hooked up with someone while they were separated, and then he continuously lied about it. So he cheats on her, she breaks up with him, he continues to cheat on her, then he lies about cheating on her, and now she's broken up with him. And her family says that she's not trying hard enough to forgive this man. I don't know what they want her to do. You know, this is like the fourth chance he's had to prove that he won't cheat, and then he keeps on cheating. But I think the most outlandish thing to happen during the conversation, Taylor loses it, and she's like, okay, so this man can come home, me, then leave my house, go to another woman's house, then come back to mine, me again, lie to me about going to this woman's house, and I have to suddenly forgive him? And her stepdad looks her dead in the eye and goes, "Well, Dakota told us that you only hung out like 3 times. And you're telling us that you were having sex. So what does that say about you?"
What does that say about you? I'm not pointing fingers. You guys.
That's what I'm saying. I was trash.
I know.
And I'm just glad they did this straight away in episode 2. This is the for all the aspiring Mormon girlies out there and trad wives, this is what awaits you. This is probably one of the softest versions of misogyny in the Mormon church, I'm assuming. I'm not a Mormon, but from what we've seen, this is like easy breezy. You know, it's just your family telling you to forgive your cheater husband because you have a kid together. You know, and they make it a point to be like, well, now you have a goddamn baby together, so you gotta work on it. And it reminds me a lot of growing up super Catholic. My family is super Catholic. It's kind of gross. And there's a pressure to be married when you have kids. So when my mom got pregnant with my brother, she wasn't married to my dad, but the family pressure was so much that they got married just to raise the child together and then had me as an accident. But all of this to say, if y'all don't love each other, don't force the relationship for your kids because it never ends well. It backfires tremendously, always on the parents. Never do it. Just separate, co-parent, give them 2 houses, 2 sets of toys, 2 sets of gifts. Do that. Maybe slap a condom on it next time, or take some birth control, or co-parent. Do that. And if her stepdad being a misogynistic wipe wasn't enough, then her brother is like, well, you're not even giving him an inch so he can walk a mile.
Give an inch so he could walk a mile.
My guy, he cheats on her every time they're together. It's like his dick exists outside of his body. And there's actually a really good solution for this. Open the relationship. Fuck monogamy. Who cares? But these are Mormons. These are religious people that we're talking about, right? So Taylor has to be the bigger person and forgive cheating. And he can just work on himself because he's walked into this relationship with a lot of trauma and a lot of hurt that she's not taking into consideration.
You're forgetting that I'm coming from a very broken place too. That matters. You can't just disregard the shit that I just went through.
And I just want to remind y'all, this is the man that cheats on her every single time, now saying that he's dealing with too much and he deserves some understanding. Dude, understanding for what? You want understanding to cheat on the woman you say you love more than anyone else in the entire world? And then Taylor goes into detail on the things that he's lied about, and in front of her entire family, he just starts shouting at her, saying that this is the biggest lie he's ever seen. The man who's actively lied about every sexual encounter he's had in the last 5 years is now saying that this recount of the events that have happened that he's confirmed is the biggest lie he's ever heard. These people are not real. Okay, they were dropped here as a social experiment. Someone made them in a lab and then put cameras in front of them and just said act. And they did, and this is what we get. The piling on Taylor got so bad that I genuinely had to go back in the footage and just reconfirm that these people here attacking her are in fact her family members and not his family members, because it very much felt like the groom's family trying to blame the bride for their son's mistakes, but instead it was the bride's parents, which honestly should not be surprising because there's a lot of misogyny in the Mormon church, right? Women are expected to give it their all and forgive everything and anything, thing, and men are expected to just try their best, kind of, sort of, whatever. You know, you don't have to be perfect. You can cheat, you can groom underage girls into being your future wives. It don't matter as long as you keep trying your best. And at the end, as if this is like a fever dream, they say a prayer. Because what can fix family drama better than a little prayer after everyone shouted at a woman for no good reason? Good. But the Taylor-Dakota drama started off way earlier at the beginning of MomTok, and we actually get a new character this season. Her name is Miranda. She is the ultimate mom talker. She was one of the OGs, and we get a little backstory into how it all went down. So Taylor and her ex-partner were hooking up with Miranda and her ex-husband, Chase. And Chase fell in love with Taylor, and Taylor had a sex dream with Chase. And when she told him about the sex dream, he told her that he was in love with her. So she kind of broke things off and then told the entire world that she'd been swinging, her and a bunch of other people, and was surprised when Miranda and Chase and her ex-husband weren't too happy to give their faces to the movement. Miranda was not in season 1 because she took a step back from MomTok, you know, after having her best friend reveal to the entire world that she was kissing girls and hooking up with her husband with another husband in the room. Now, they never had sex with each other's partners, but from what Taylor has told us, they had sex with each of their husbands respectively in the same room, on the same bed, in the shower together. They would blindfold each other, the women, and then they would have to try and guess whose husband was kissing them. And they were making out with each other and just doing like silly little girly things. And this is like the biggest shame Miranda could ever feel about anything that she's ever done in her life. She's like, this really, like, I'm so embarrassed to admit that I was, you know, playing spin the bottle with a bunch of other grown-ups as a married woman. And all of this just makes me laugh because send these women to a dark room in a gay club and they will be traumatized for life. You'll get a book out of each of them, like my experience in a dark room and what it has taught me about the meaning of life and God. This shit's so vanilla. I kept waiting for some bigger, like, juicy details to come up, but no. It was just a couple of kisses. Lesbians, which is not even a problem because no one is even pointing their fingers at them like, oh, dirty lesbians. Because, you know, being a Mormon in modern times is to be okay with other people doing that shit, as long as it doesn't enter our community. But these ladies aren't even practicing Mormons in the first place, so who gives a f? Anyway, there's this Halloween party, and Chase, Miranda's ex-husband, is invited. And he ends up talking to Dakota. I guess there's a lot of bad blood because, you know, Taylor is in the middle. And Dakota, it takes Dakota like 1 minute to suddenly side with Chase. It takes him 1 minute to turn to Taylor and be like, hey, this man is giving me some very interesting facts that you didn't give me, so you must be lying, you fucking 1 minute. And he turned on the woman that he loves more than anything. And then it's just like a long argument of Taylor and Chase going back to back like, oh, you had a sex dream about me. Well, you were in love with me. Well, I never said that. Oh, yeah, what did you say? Oh, I'm not going to say. Oh, so you're not going to admit what you said? And it's just a back and forth. In all of this, I'm this guy in the back. I'm like, what is happening? Everyone is just in a state of shock watching this argument happen. Eventually, though, Taylor and Dakota do have a conversation, and Taylor breaks up with him, says that they genuinely need to take a good break before they can try to make things work. And I think that the thing that's wrong in here is that they're so obsessed with making it work because they have a kid together. They haven't realized that they are absolutely not good together and they should not be good together. But I found it funny that Taylor, after the whole gathering of Taylor's family turning against her, she was like, well, I'm still not okay with my family, but you know, they are helping me a lot with Ever, so it's whatever. Yeah, whatever. Who cares if your whole fucking family hates you and wants you to be with a serial cheater that treats you like shit? At least they babysit your kid. Then there's Jen Affleck. She was a big focus of the second half of last season. I don't know if you remember, but she's with Zach. He is the prototype of misogyny. He's this blonde guy, and he was going to medical school at the end of season 1, and he was super against his wife being in MomTok because they went to this Chippendale show in Las Vegas, and he was just very jealous. So jealous, in fact, that he texted her a bunch of hideous messages such as, You're disgusting. I don't love you anymore. I don't want to be together. I don't know who you are. This is gross. He also dragged every single woman in MomTok in those conversations. He is the example of misogyny because he just hates women being women. He hates when women have a voice. He hates when women can choose what they do. He hates when his wife doesn't say, "Yes, daddy," to every sentence he utters. So at the end of season 1, Jen left MomTok to follow her husband to New York. Never do this, ladies. Never follow your deadbeat husband who gambled all of his money away. Gambling is a crime, by the way, or a sin against the Mormon church. So he's a hypocrite. You know, he was giving his wife shit for attending a strip show with her friends and doing nothing there. And yet he was spending the entire night gambling away all of their money in a casino. So after the reception of season 1, the entire world basically told Jen, leave Zach. He's a piece of shit. He doesn't deserve you. And so she did. Eventually, he got accepted into Arizona University, so the plan was no longer to go to New York, but to Arizona. But they got there, and she was still not happy, so she decided to go back to Utah, Salt Lake City, wherever they live, and rejoin MomTok and take a break from Zach. And all of this happened between seasons, because season 2 starts, and he's already trying to win her back. Part of him winning her back is to make amends with Jen's besties, Jesse and Demi. So they have a conversation, and again, it takes them about a minute or two to suddenly turn against Jen. Because Jesse and Demi are like, hey, we're just sticking up to our friend who keeps telling us that you're a narcissist and that you treat her like shit. And he's like, well, it's kind of bad that she keeps saying those things about me because I never tell my friends about how much of a she is. And then they just join forces because they come to the conclusion that the common denominator is Jen, and she must be lying to everyone. She must be exaggerating the details to gain sympathy from both her husband and her best friends, and suddenly it's everyone against Jen. I think one of the lies they caught Jen in is that she told everyone that Zach gambled all of his money for medical school away. And turns out that was not true. Apparently he did not gamble the money for medical school away, but he must have gambled something. So that's just the petty little tiny details that just get mixed in the way, and all of a sudden, Jen is a lying that we can't trust. So part of proving that Zach has changed, because Zach is going to therapy, he's learning to allow his wife to be a free person without him scolding her for not being what he wants her to be. The perfect test to show that he has indeed changed is to orchestrate a Chippendales performance at this Halloween party. You know, the Halloween party where Taylor and Dakota were screaming at each other. So at the same party, Brett and Jordan, you know, Brett the groomer and Jordan the founder of Daily Wire, dressed themselves as Chippendales performers with another performer slash stripper, I don't care. And they do a little dance for Jen in front of everyone while Zach is right next to her. And the idea is for Zach to prove that he's not going to get jealous seeing his male best friends rub up on his wife. And it goes very awkwardly. Jen seems incredibly uncomfortable with the whole situation. We're not really certain if it's because she doesn't want it or because Zach is right there next to her. But then this causes a lot of drama because Jen says that she had no idea that they were going to do that to her. And this plays into a different altercation that happens that same night. We'll get to that in a second. So Jen says that she had no idea this was against her consent and it was really disrespectful to do that in front of her husband. Whereas Jesse and Demi are like, no, we have video footage of us telling you what we're going to do and you saying that you love the idea and that you're all for it.
Brett is going to come in like normal costume, rip it off into like a Chippendales.
I love that.
So now it's like Jen is just against it because it made her husband a little uncomfy. And her husband's like, oh, that was so disrespectful. I didn't expect them to do that. Like, it's like they're poking the bear. And instead of saying, oh, well, I knew that, and that was the whole fucking point, and the fact that you're reacting like this shows that you haven't gotten over it, instead she goes, yeah, I didn't like it either. They didn't tell me what they were going to do. It's just really bad. And this causes a whole new argument amongst the group because now Jesse and Demi are fully against Jen. Oh, high school drama for your pleasure. But I want to go back and talk about the performance because Brett and Jordan, these men have zero rhythm. They don't know how to dance. They don't know how to perform. It was cringy. It was uncomfortable. I don't want to see a 50-year-old man who's been grooming a teenager just rub up on another 25-year-old woman. No. Ew. But also at this party, something interesting happens that I think is going to play into a lot of what happens for the rest of the season. There's an altercation, right? So Demi is antagonizing Chase, telling him to go find his girlfriend because she's very upset, since Chase was just in a massive argument with Taylor. And Chase, out of pettiness, goes, "Where's your husband?" And lightly taps her on the arm or the shoulder or whatever. He lightly taps her. And she goes bananas. She walks up to her husband, the old dude, and is like, "Chase put his hands on me." And Brett sees red. He runs out chasing after Chase. Chasing after Chase, that was funny. And he's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you, man? You putting your hands on my wife?" And he's like, "No, I didn't. I genuinely just tapped her and asked her where you were." And then he's forced to apologize to Demi. He apologizes, and all of a sudden, Jeremy Boring is jumping up like a chihuahua, wanting to assert himself. Like, whoa!
Take ownership! Take ownership right now!
Who put 2 pence in this little dude? And I found it interesting that Demi and Jessie, specifically these two ladies, are the ones that are actively trying to modernize the Mormon church, right? Everyone is just kind of like, yeah, I'm part of the church, or I'm not part of the church. But these two are like, we want to change things. We want to show that Mormons can be modern, and we can have a digital presence, and we can be feminists. And then immediately uses her husband as a weapon to cause violence against another dude who didn't do anything to her, right? Like, he lightly tapped her. He was being petty. But so was she. And then they're like, "You never touch a woman. That is so fucking disrespectful." He barely touched her. Demi, you can't just be all pro-women lifting ladies up. We have power. We have agency. And then as soon as you feel slightly disrespected, you use every husband in the house to attack someone with violence. It just feels like you're happy to exploit the patriarchy whenever it suits you, but then you want to scream girl boss feminism whenever you want to make money. It's inconsistent. But I think this is going to come back in the second half. So you know what? Get this video to 2,000 likes and I'll cover the rest. Just saying. The Jen and Zach situation, though, gets slightly worse because after all of this fighting and all of this arguing, she's not really sure if she wants to continue in this relationship, and I don't blame her because her husband is a And that's when she discovers that she's pregnant. Not a good pregnancy. I know we're Mormons, and I know we celebrate every life that we bring into this planet, but her first reaction is to start sobbing uncontrollably because she's so fucking unhappy and she doesn't want to bring a child into this really toxic environment that she's sharing with her husband. And I just gotta laugh. This is why you should pass tests to prove that you're fit to be a parent. But also the fact that she was sleeping with Zach after all of that, unprotected, ma'am. Also, remember when she said that she was cousins with Ben Affleck? Well, that's a big thing this year. Because turns out she's not, and turns out Zach has told her several times over the course of several months that she should stop saying that in podcasts and interviews because it is absolutely not true. And her response is, "Well, your family told me that it was true that one time ages ago, 6 years ago." So that's what I've been saying to people. I think it's funny. I think someone said as a joke, "Oh yeah, we're cousins with Ben Affleck, haha." And she just ran with it everywhere. She just fucking ran with it. And there was even people on TikTok that went back in like the family history and they realized that she was in fact not related to Ben Affleck. So it's not news when her husband Zach is telling her we're not related to him. She knows that. Everyone knows that. The internet has made sure that there's proof, but she just maintains that she was told it that one time 6 years ago, and that's not her fault. It's not her fault that people jokingly lie to her. And I it's a choice. It's a choice. And then there's one part where the dads try and give dad talk a go and they film TikToks. And I just know that as soon as the cameras cut out, it was a sweaty, stinking orgy in there. Rising up like a melting wax doll. Bukkake all around. It must have been. It wasn't. It must have. It's all alleged. It's my imagination. I'm thinking that they did that because look at them. And that's it for the first half of season 2. Taylor's family sucks. Everyone around Jen sucks. Whitney has been trying to reform her villainous self and become a calming, graceful presence in the group. That's not going well. And to come in the rest of the season, there has been an anonymous submission to Macy's Confession Tuesdays or something. You know, when she like allows viewers to submit their confessions? So someone said that they slept with Brett when Demi was away last year. So what will happen in the second half of the season? I don't know. Haven't watched it yet. But let me know in the comments down below. Let me know in the like ratio if you want to see part 2. And I will bring it to you. And until then, if you like this video, make sure to leave it a like down below, subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you watch The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, or do you watch it vicariously through content creators such as myself? Because I wouldn't blame you. I honestly almost skipped this season until I got to the gathering of Taylor's family. And then I realized, whoa, fucking hell. This is so much worse than last season. We gotta talk about it. So yeah, again, like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, stay safe, stay sane, stay stupid, and stay stuttering. Bye, guys.